In a stunning move, top Trump executive Allen Weisselberg is expected to be arraigned in court later on today. His lawyers say that he'll plead not guilty and fight all possible charges in court. Weisselberg surrendered to Manhattan authorities earlier today after a grand jury indicted him and the Trump Organization for possible tax crimes. We know prosecutors have been investigating alleged bonuses and special perks given to employees. Officials are gearing up to unseal the exact charges Weisselberg and the company face later on today. So for more on this, let's bring in CBS News legal contributor and former Manhattan prosecutor Rebecca Roiphe. Rebecca, thanks for joining us. Why is this so significant, and what exactly do we know about this particular investigation?
Well, the investigation has been going on for several years now, and we know that the Manhattan DA has been looking into a number of potential crimes. Public reporting has it that the current indictment is going to center around, as you said, these potential tax fraud claims, criminal tax fraud charges. Now, one thing to keep our eye on is, is this the final chapter, or is this just the first stage in a long, ongoing investigation? And, I think if this particular indictment focuses on those criminal tax fraud charges, it probably isn't the end of the story. But nonetheless, these are serious charges, and, this is the first time that we've seen not the former president, but his organization and people very close to him are being held accountable for potential criminal conduct.
So, I'm sure some people are wondering why the former president isn't charged. This could be sort of just an opening act, but what's your take on why the former president isn't being charged in this round anyways?
Right. So, again, all of this is a little bit of speculation without knowing for sure. But what it seems like is that the prosecutors are working their way up the ladder. So in order to build a case like this, one thing to keep in mind is it's extremely hard. It's hard because you have to prove not only that, the individual at the top of the organization here, former President Trump, committed these acts, but you have to show that he committed these acts with the intent to defraud. And those are hard things to prove. And what really helps in order to build those kinds of cases is an insider who can give you information. One other fact here is we know the former president didn't use emails, he didn't use text messages. As a result, that makes it even harder because he hasn't left a paper trail. So what I imagine, and again, a little bit of speculation, is that what the prosecutors are trying to do is put pressure on the CFO, Allen Weisselberg, to cooperate with them and help them build a case against the former president. But again, some of that is speculation. We're still looking at what this indictment looks like and whether there's something more to come.
Right. Yeah, really, we have no idea what the charges are because the indictment is still sealed, but it's expected to be unsealed later today. So once that happens, what will you be looking for?
So, there's been a lot of public reporting, and the public reporting says that this particular indictment is going to focus on tax fraud charges having to do with fringe benefits that were paid out to Allen Weisselberg, who is the CFO of the organization, and other individuals within the organization. We've heard that the organization itself is likely to be indicted along with those officials. So some of the things that I think we're looking for is indicted for what? What are the particular crimes that are being charged here? In addition, who is being indicted? So not just, what they're being charged with, but in addition to the organization, what individuals within that organization are being charged. And finally, if this is a case that's focusing on tax fraud, these benefits that were being paid out, we want to know how much money was involved, because the level of crime, the level of felony, which then correlates with the penalty, depends on the amount of taxes that were not withheld. And so, that's really important, because if this is a case that's designed to put pressure on Allen Weisselberg and others to cooperate with prosecutors in bringing a case against the former president, then the level of those charges is extremely important, because it determines how much pressure they can actually put on those officials. significant jail time, they're far more likely to cooperate than if these are minor charges that will not involve anyone serving any jail time. So those three things are the things that I'm looking for.
Rebecca, the former president, released a statement basically saying, hey, listen, investigators were biased here. This is he's been calling this a witch hunt for a long time. But, also the attorneys for the Trump organization have pointed out that it's very unusual for a company to be indicted for possible tax crimes. Is that the case? Is this an unusual move?
Well, I think it's proceeding in an unusual way. First of all, it isn't so rare for these kinds of tax fraud charges to be brought. They're usually brought along with other charges. So if this is the first stage in a longer investigation, the prosecutors are just doing something sort of creative and different here and splitting up the charges. So bringing some of the charges first and some of the charges later. So that I don't think would be so unusual. It is actually totally appropriate to bring charges against an organization or a company if the people involved were top management officials and if the company was benefiting. And so from all the public reporting that we've seen, that's the case here. This is not some rogue employee taking from the company. This is the CFO who is in charge and supposed to be the watchdog here. Allen Weisselberg is supposed to make sure that everything that goes on in the organization is lawful and complies with relevant accounting laws. So if he's benefiting from these, tax benefits without paying them, that's significant. And that does show that there is a significant problem within this organization. So I do think it's appropriate to bring the charges against the organization. That said, the president has been using this line rather successfully since the Mueller investigation to say, this is a witch hunt. These are Democrats and they're after me. This does, to some degree, if this were the end game, this would play into that narrative because, of course, if most people are not normally brought up simply on these charges, and these charges are brought against the president, the former president, then, there at least seems like there might be some motivation for doing so. But, at this point, we really don't know what's, behind the curtain. And the narrative is being completely controlled by the defense attorneys because the prosecutors haven't spoken yet through that indictment and can't speak. So we really don't know fully the full story and what it is at this point. And I think it's very premature and probably unwarranted to accuse, this particular district attorney who has, mostly shown to be himself to be extremely professional, that, he is in some way, after the president because of some political bias. He's about to retire. He is not part of the Biden administration. This is not a federal prosecution. So in some ways, these allegations ring hollow.
Rebecca Roiphe, thank you very much.
Anne-Marie.